Today I would like to share something which is related to the five precepts in Buddhism. As we are Buddhists, we normally learn and already aware that the five precepts are to abstain or refrain from harming or killing living beings, and to refrain from stealing or taking what is not given, to refrain from sexual misconduct or uh, committing adultery, and number 4, to refrain from lying or false speech, and number 5 is to abstain from taking intoxicated drinks and drugs or intoxication. So this is the 5 rules of training, which we normally call as the 5 precepts. In Pali is a Panchasila. In Khmer we call Panchasal, Nichasal. Sal 5 ហ្នឹងគឺសំដៅលើសិក្ខាបទ5 5 training rules, or the 5 moral precepts, as some refer to it as a moral code of conduct, and also as a good principle to live a happy and harmonious life. So what I'm gonna share today is the 5 precepts, and also its accompanying virtues by refraining from those 5 precepts, like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxication. So what do we gain by avoiding and abandoning those false activities which cause harms not only to oneself but also to society at large? So I have read from the book, and also from the quotation of the UN. They also describe about the Buddhist 5 precepts, which plays very important role in living a life of harmony and happiness in society. So I'm gonna read this to start again from the first training rules. The first precept, Panatipata Veramani, to refrain or abstain from killing living beings. So as you know, if we commit an activity of harming others, killing other living beings, this will cause a lot of insecurity, violence, and a lot of problems in living. So instead of killing or causing harm to others, we should instead develop loving kindness and also compassion, So this is the accompanying virtue of the first training rules, Panatipata. We should develop loving kindness, love others as you love yourself. So too, you should love others in that way, and also try to be compassionate towards all beings, having no harmful thoughts of others. Always have a positive idea about others and a thought of non-violence. We should develop this quality. And when we talk about the relationship to human rights, so how important this first precept to human rights that is being practiced all over the world. Even at the United States, they often speak about this precept, this quality of abstaining or not to cause harm to one another, not to create violence, not to cause problems, not to kill others' life, not just human being, but also the life of animals, birds, everything that has life. So in relation to human rights, there is a rule that says the right to life. I believe if you are in the if you are in the law area, you surely know about the violation of human rights, like this kind of activity causing harms and killing others' life. So this is the right to life. Everybody has a right to live in happiness without being threatened by others, something like that. And the second precept, which is Attanetiniya Adina Dana Veramani, to refrain from stealing or taking what is not given. Instead of doing so, we should develop generosity and renunciation. Instead of stealing, robbing others, or having a thought of wanting somebody's property. In another word, we say covetousness. ភាសាខ្មែរយើងហៅសម្លឹងរំពៃទ្រព្យសម្បត្តិអ្នកដទៃអភិជា covetousness. Instead of having covetousness or committing theft, stealing, or robbing others, we better develop generosity. Try to give more, try to open your heart and practice the generosity, doing charity, give away to dana, to have those who are in suffering, those who are in need. You better give them support. And in relation to human rights is the right of property. So everybody has the right of property. They own the property. They have the ownership, so that there are rights and laws and articles that protect the property that somebody own it. And number 3, which is Kame Sumachajara Veramani, to refrain from sexual misconduct or committing adultery. Instead, we should develop contentment and respect for faithfulness. Contentment here means being happy with what you have, or satisfaction, being satisfied with what you have. Just like when we say you have honesty and loyalty with your family, with your wife and husband, with your children, and respect the honesty with the families of others as well. So instead of committing sexual misconduct or committing adultery, we better practice contentment. Try to be happy with what you have without craving for more and more, wanting more and more without endlessly. So we better practice and develop this quality of contentment, of satisfaction with whatever we have in hand. And in relation to human rights is the right to fidelity in marriage. Right to fidelity in marriage. It means being honest with your wife, with your husband, with your family, with your children, and also the family of others. And number 4, Muksa Vada Veramani, to refrain from false speech or telling lies. Instead of doing so, we better develop truthfulness or honesty. Like we have to be honest, and also be dependable and reliable. If you commit telling lies or using a false speech, speak something which is not true, which is not useful, which cause harm to others, this is gonna cause somebody to be untrustworthy. So you better develop honesty with yourself and with others by saying things which is true, which is useful, which is beneficial, and also with compassion out of goodwill for others. So this is a way in which you have to develop in the case of the 4 precepts. And what is related to human right is the right of human dignity. Human dignity means human value, because if you tell lies all the time, so who gonna trust you anymore? Who gonna rely on you? Because most of the time you just telling lies, you don't speak the truth, you know. You try to speak something which is away from reality. So this will spread the rumors, the bad dignity about yourself. So later you will become untrusted and also not dependable. And finally, the 5th precept, which is Sura Meraya Majapama Dathana Veramani, to abstain from intoxication, using or intake the alcoholic drinks and using drugs which cause heedlessness and losing mindfulness. This is what we need to abandon. This is what we need to refrain and abstain. And instead of doing so, we better develop mindfulness and responsibility. Mindfulness means sati, because when you consume the alcohol or drug like marijuana, it will cause your decision making. It will cause to lose or decrease your decision making and your judgment, and also it will cause to lose your memory, your mindfulness as well, by taking alcoholic drinks and using drugs, etc. Therefore, in the accompanying virtues of this precept, one should develop mindfulness, which we normally know as mental cultivation, or bhavana, which is a technique in which you learn to develop your mind to gain more concentration and also to be able to understand the reality which is happening and rising and falling in your mind, so that you can control and see things clearly the way it is. And what that relate to the human rights in this 5th precept is the right of security and safety. So this is very true, since I used to read about the traffic laws in United States. Many restriction has been set in this case of consuming alcohol and drugs, especially for the driver. If they have the content of blood alcohol, for example from 0.08 onwards, they will be arrested by the traffic police, or they can be sent to jail, or they can be fined with some amount of money. Why they, in United States, they have that kind of rule, which is very strict for the driver not to consume any alcoholic drinks or drug before they drive or when they are driving, because it will cause a lot of danger. We don't know that there might be hazard that can happen on the road because you cannot control your emotion, you cannot control your mind when you are driving, when you are uh, um, on the road, on the highway. You know, if your ability to judge things, to make decision slows down, it's gonna cause a lot of accident by driving. It cause insecurity and also losing the safety of the traffic rules, and it will lead to injury and also death from this heedlessness. That is why no wonders that the Buddha really touch on this very important precept, which is the fifth precept, to refrain from using or drinking alcoholic drinks and using drugs. This is really important because if you lose this precept, if you break this precept, that's gonna cause a lot of disturbances, even can kill one's life, you know. So instead of using all these drinks, alcohol, or using drugs, we better develop mindfulness and responsibility. Being responsible for what you do is very important. As just like this one good example of driving on the road. If you're not responsible for what you do, it will cause a lot of troubles to the life of yourself and also the life of many others who are driving on the road. You know, we see in Cambodia also the accident that happened because of driving has caused a lot of problem, and also being very popular about traffic accident. So we should avoid by learning the Buddha's teaching, especially the fifth precept, as we normally learn and already know, but I think we should put more into practice to avoid any harm and also to cause any danger to society. So this is what I just want to share, and I hope you find this video helpful to improve more the understanding of the five precepts in Buddhism, its benefit, and also how we can apply this precept in order to gain peace and harmony in our life. So thank you very much. May you be blessed by the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha.